Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So you are welcome to our second lecture on getting started with writing and using the rhetorical star approach. So as you know that in our first lecture, we talked about this rhetorical star and we said that it's very important for effective communication. So the word communication we talked about was not just enclosed within the boundaries of speaking. We said whenever you write anything, that's also said to be the communication. All right. So we talked about this rhetorical star, and this rhetorical star actually includes five major dimensions. Number one is your subject. Number two, audiences. Number three, purpose of your writing. Number four, strategies. What strategies do you have for your writing assignment or your writing project, or whenever you're writing for your exams? And then the fourth, the design. And what sort of design do you have for your writing projects? So we were talking about, uh, first of all, we were talking about subject, and then now today we will talk about its second dimension, and that is audience. Yes, so as you know that audiences, these are very important. Once you know to whom you're writing, it becomes quite easy for you to deliver your message. So you have to consider your readers as well, the people who are reading your text whenever you're writing, whether he or she may be your teacher for assignment or for exams, or maybe anything else. For example, you're writing a book, or you're writing short stories, poetry, or anything. So you have to consider your readers. So what's important in it is that uh, for what particular discourse community you're writing. That's very important. And what is discourse community? Actually, these are the group of people who share common interests, knowledge, values related to any particular subject. So, are you writing for any particular discourse? For example, you're writing a book for children, or you're writing a book for elderly people, or you're writing something that's to be checked by your teacher, that's for exam purpose. So you have to find out particular discourse community. All right. So discourse community is what? Once again, I'm repeating, that is the people who are sharing common interest. For example, if you're writing something to bank, then definitely you know that what kind of people are sitting there, and how you should convey your message to them. So you have to keep this discourse community in your mind whenever you are writing something. And this also actually works whenever you are writing to your professor or teacher as well. You know what sort of personality she or he has, and what demands she actually have while delivering lectures. You have to assess these all things, and in return, when you write in your exams, you have to bring upon these things in your communication. All right. So actually, we all belong to certain discourse communities. For example, school clubs, here mentioned social or religious groups. In religious context, you are supposed to write differently than that of when you're writing when you're writing to a friend, or when you're writing to your teacher. And there are certain professional organizations as well. So for this particular communities, you are supposed to write different vocabulary, and this particular vocabulary is technical. Sometimes when you are writing in science journals, then it means you're supposed to have scientific vocabulary. So whenever you write particular words, particular vocabulary for particular audiences that we have called discourse community, it is said to be the jargon. All right. So for particular situation, for particular discourse community, you must have different jargon. All right. I think that's fine now. Yes. So what are the important characteristics of audiences? Let's see. Number one, age is very important. You're writing to children or adults or old age people. So it matters a lot depending on the experiences of people whom you're writing. What sort of beliefs do they have? Uh, you know that in particular society, people have different beliefs. So you have to keep this in your mind as well regarding the general beliefs of people, regarding cultural background of people as well. All right, regarding educational level and ethnicity of people as well. So cultural background, ethnicity, beliefs, and religious affiliations, these things are quite sensitive. You have to keep them in your mind whenever you're writing anything. All right. So you have to look for experience as well, uh, their gender, their interest, their knowledge of subject, their occupation. Are the bankers? Are the teachers? Uh, are the scientists? What they are? Are they your friends? You have to see their opinions as well, political views in case of advanced writing, and reading ability as well. For example, you cannot write difficult words for children. You have to make your communication easier. You have to use easy words for them. And in the last, socioeconomic status, that's also very important. So once you have these, once you have analysis of these audience characteristics, you will be able to deliver your message quite better than not knowing your audiences before. This will help a lot. I'm not talking about these things in detail. Uh, this will take a lot of time because this is another separate topic, and this works a lot. You have to work on this as well. You have to find out what personality she belongs or he belongs, any lecturer, professor who is teaching you, or the person or the audiences in case if you're writing any story. So you have to keep these all things in your mind before writing anything. All right. So the third, here you see in the rhetorical star, after subject, we had audiences. Now we'll talk about purpose. Without purpose, this life is nothing. For general life, we do have purposes as well. For example, you have purpose of watching this lecture today because you want to know ABC of writing, of composition. All right. So you have to determine the reason for your writing, for what reasons you're writing. This must be quite clear to you. For what reasons you're writing, this must be quite clear to you. Whether you're writing to inform people, you're informing them anything, whether you're writing to interpret anything, any text, any movie, or anything, you are interpreting it, or whether you're writing to persuade anyone, you want to make them understand, you want to make them persuade, you want to make them agree, about your ideas, about your opinions, about your views. So that is writing to persuade, writing to entertain. For example, you are writing entertaining stories, entertaining novels, or anything. That is entertainment, writing to entertainment, and writing to express feelings. And that is the fifth major point, the purpose that you should keep in your mind. All right, what are you hoping to accomplish? What effects do you wish to have on your audience? That's very important. What sort of effect you want on your audiences, in case of information, interpretation, persuasion, entertainment, or feelings and emotions that we call pathos, ethos, what Greeks called it. Yes, whether you are composing a class assignment, workplace document, personal letter, your writing will meet at least one of the five main purposes. Whatever you are writing, whether it's your class assignment, whether you are sitting an exam, or anything, you are going to face any one of these while writing. So you have to keep them in your mind, and your purpose of writing should be very clear. Yes, that's a brainstorm. That's Netic. We call it Netic. If I'm not pronouncing it right, then you have to check out this word. And the meaning of this word is basically etiquettes of dealing, communication, and internet spheres. So that is like whenever you're writing to your professor, teacher, lecturer, or anyone, so you have to keep a few things in your mind. Appropriate email address that must include your name. You have to clearly write your subject heading. You have to address your instructor professionally. That should not be unprofessional. Your message should be clear and concise. And if you have questions, you have to make them specific, quite specific. You have to use standard grammar, standard vocabulary, proper capitalization and punctuation, and you have to avoid capital letters. And that's quite interesting. This is called shouting, and this is considered as shouting when you're using all the capital letters in your internet communication, especially when you're writing email. You have to maintain professional tone. Your gestures should be polite, and these all things collectively help you to write to your professor. All right. So whenever you're writing to your professor, you have to keep these things in mind, and it's called NATIC. Okay, NATIC. These are the etiquettes of writing on internet. All right. And now let's talk about strategy, and that's the, I guess, the fourth side of the star. Yes, here, strategy. Once you have determined your strategy, you will need to consider your tone. And that's very important. Strategy, we'll talk about this. What is writing strategy, and what are the types of strategies that one may employ while writing anything. Here you have to keep the tone in your mind, what tone you're going to have, whether it's formal and informal. We being human beings, we all have emotions. Sometimes we feel sad, sometimes we are happy, sometimes in between. So whenever you're writing a funny story, that makes your tone funny. When you are writing some aggressive words, or uh, including any warning in your text, that is another tone. Okay, that is the angry tone. So one may find different tones in stylistic treatment of the text. And what is stylistic treatment? That is the choice of words. Choice of words. Being a writer, what sort of words you often use while you write anything. So tone can be happy, sad, angry, warning, or anything in between, because it's related to the feelings of human beings. All right. And sometimes if you're writing to a professor, as we talked about before, that should be formal. So tone can be formal as well and informal as well. When you're writing to a friend, then tone is informal. All right. That's strategy. So what are the writing strategies are there in composition, in any sort of writing? So here you can count down. No, not count down. Here you can count from here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have to keep these 8 writing strategies in your mind. Why? We have seen more often in university questions that a professor, he asks you to describe anything. Sometimes he asks you to explain a process. Sometimes he or she gives questions that ask for compare or contrast. Sometimes causes or effects. Sometimes persuasion. Sometimes evaluation. Sometimes problem solving. So these are the actual writing strategies. For example, if we talk about narration, if you're dealing with any story, okay, if you are writing anything in the shape of story in chronological order is what? In sequence. Okay. If you're writing anything in story form in sequence, then this is said to be the narrating technique. Okay. And in narrating technique, you actually present the details of events, whatever event uh, happen there in the story in chronological order, in sequential order. All right. But you can also use flashbacks as well, especially in postmodern literature. You see they have kind of very different narrating techniques. So you have to cover who, what, where, sorry, this is a problem, where, when, why, and how. You have to keep these questions in your mind, and then you will be able to frame a very good story, and that you will call a narrating writing strategy. All right. And then the second one is describing anything. And what is description of anything? That is when you paint a picture of objects, scenes, or events for your audiences using as many senses as appropriate for the subject. So it means when you are using your senses in your writing, that we see, especially in poetry, in John Keats' poetry, you see he uses a lot of senses. So whenever you use a lot of senses, it actually creates a vivid image of that particular scenery or object. And then actually a person who is reading, he can actually feel the sight, sound, taste, smell, or touch within your communication. So this sort of writing is very impactful. This is very impactful in literature. Okay, so here the strategies, you will use colorful adjectives to give a very clear, a vivid description of your subject you're talking about. All right, so that is simply description or describing of anything, and that is one of the writing strategies. Okay, we have seen in the past narrating of stories was a kind of very famous in the past cultures and civilizations, and this thing is also very popular. And then there is another strategy, that is explaining a process. Okay, and then here you actually write down the things in step-by-step instructions so that the reader, they can perform the task. Okay, and here you sometimes tell them that tell how something works or what something does. Okay, so it means like you are actually explaining them the process. Okay. Or you can write an explanation so that your audience is able to understand your subject. So here you have to write down step-by-step instructions. Okay. And then compare and contrast. That is simply you will have to you will have to show how people, places, or objects are similar and dissimilar, or they are different. You will have to make a worthwhile point while doing this. Okay, and that looks very easy, but whenever you deal with difficult topics, it becomes difficult as well. Then you have to explain causes or effects. That is how one event or situation caused another to occur. For example, what causes global warming? For example, that is a topic. Uh, you say that the global warming is a result of chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, so here you see cause and effect relationship between chlorofluorocarbons and greenhouse gases effect. Okay, so this must be quite logical, and you must have power to analyze causes and effects. Okay, and that is the another strategy of writing, and that we call explaining causes or effects. Persuasion, uh, that is how you persuade people on controversial issues. For example, here in Pakistan or India, some religious elements or the people who do not want both genders to sit in a class in universities, they quite often asked to separate the classes. Okay, this is there in our culture, but we see one can argue that the co-education is better in 21st century for the students of higher education. That is a kind of argument. So you'll have to persuade your audiences, whosoever are reading your text, and you'll have to make sure that you are able to defend your claim. Okay, that is, you can actually present your support through research, or you can actually share your personal experiences as well. Okay, so persuasion, that's another important writing strategy. Evaluating, that's kind of higher sort of writing, advanced sort of writing. You have to make judgments about subject. Okay, that is your subject by determining how well it meets specific criteria that you feel important for that subject. So you have to just keep this in your mind right now, is that evaluating is one of the writing strategies. Solving a problem, explain a problem to a reader and offer several solutions. Okay, this is a kind of problem analysis, and we often give recommendations or way forwards in our essays. This is also a very important part of essays that we see in competitive exams. You may evaluate each possible solution before persuading your reader that one specific solution is best. So I talked about them in little bit of detail, not much detail, because uh, we may talk about these strategies in much detail when we will deal with academic essays. So now, for now, you have to keep these 8 writing strategies in your mind when you are writing something. Okay, and I hope that you all are clear about these basic terms. So let's talk about our last corner of the star, and there you see, and that is design. And what is design? Sometimes we say, not sometimes, we often say that we like to wear designers clothes. What is design? Basically, just think about it in 1 minute and try to think about this word, design. Okay, sometimes you're wearing fancy dresses, sometimes quite a normal. Then someone comments on your casual dress. uh, they say that this design looks quite good. So design is what your outer representation. Okay, your outer representation. So in design, what you will see in your writing projects, number one is genre. Okay, in what genre you are writing. Okay, uh, determining your genre is very important. That is, whether you're writing story, you must know, you're writing essay, you're writing research paper. Okay, you're writing letter, email, memo, advertisement, flyer, website blog, and so on. Okay, so you have a number of writing genres. You have to definitely select them first before writing anything. So how to write stories is another topic. How to write academic essays, that is another genre to talk about. How to write emails, how to write memos, how to write research papers, how to write advertisement, flyers, website blogs, and so on. So within these genres, we have different rules and regulations to follow in order to have proper design of our writing project. Okay, so it means in our coming lectures, we'll be talking about how to write stories, short stories, how to write academic essays. That's very important. I will talk about this. How to write research papers as well. I'll talk about this in much detail. How to write letters, memos, and all things. We'll talk about this. Okay, and then you will have to see the format. In what format you are composing your text, whether it is MLA. MLA is for literature research papers, modern language association MLA. Okay, that is a kind of format. For example, format in what terms? That is, what should be your font, what should be the size of your font. Okay, that should be New Times Roman, size should be 12 or 14, or like this. And then there is another important format, that is APA, that is American Psychological Association, and that's followed in your research articles on university level. Okay, so we'll also talk about this APA in our separate lecture series for academic writing. Then appearance, I think that's a kind of same thing, format and appearance. That is font size, style, color. Actually, color is not included in format. So here in these official formats, so you can change the color of your text as well. You can determine if you use headings, bullets, columns, boxes to emphasize your main points. These are the designs, like the clothes you wear, designers' clothes. Visual aids, you can use pictures, diagrams, charts, graphics, and so on to make your writing more attractive and more readable and more approachable. Okay, so these are the articles I'll share with you. If anyone is interested, you can write down in the comment box. I'll share. You have to read this, and through this reading, you will be able to find out the purpose, design, and strategies, the 5 corners of the star, all these: subject, audience, purpose, strategy, and design. Once you are able to find out these 5 important dimensions of rhetorical star in any of the writing, it means you are now able to see the text quite clearly, and then you are able to write in better way. Model rhetoric star analysis, be our guest, please. That's the article, be our guest, please. And here you see these 4 corners of the star, rhetorical star. You'll have to read this text, okay? And you will have to find out by yourself that where is the subject, what is the subject of this article, what are the audiences, what is the purpose, what is the strategy, and what is the design. You can actually check out this in newspapers and other sort of blog writings or any sort of writing on internet. Okay, that was assignment. If you want to learn more, you will have to do it practically. And that's quite clear. Without practice, we are not able to do anything. Okay. Other same assignment, you can follow these slides or you can do by yourself. Okay. So what should be the chapter summary? That is ideal environment for writing increases your chances for success. Every time you write, you have to consider 5 points of rhetorical star or 5 corners of rhetorical star. That will say subject, audience, purpose, strategy, and design. And you have to actually use purposeful and interesting subject in your paper. We talked about this. You have to consider audience's needs and expectations. We talked about this. You must have 5 purposes for any writing, whether you are informing, interpreting, persuading, entertaining, or expressing your feelings. Okay, then you will have to choose writing strategy that's best suits your purpose and audiences. Your purpose and audiences. That is you whether you should narrate a story, describe it, explain it, compare or contrast it, explain cause or effect, persuade, or anything else. In the last, you will have to use appealing design for your document. Okay, so what we learned from these 2 lectures: number 1, ideal writing environment; rhetorical star, interesting and useful subject; audiences; purpose; and somehow about writing strategies; and few of the designs. Yes, we can be good writers if we practice a lot. So if you have, once again, any question, you can ask in comments. And this is the reference. This lecture is from Right Now, published by MC Hills. And thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next lecture. And in the next lecture, we'll be talking about the writing process. Goodbye.